Before celebrating Pentecost, you need to watch this video because what I'm about to tell you can completely transform the way you see this sacred event. After all, what really happened on that day that marked the beginning of a new spiritual era? Was the power of the Holy Spirit just symbolic, or does it still operate in our lives in surprising ways? Many talk about Pentecost, but few really understand the depth and impact of the supernatural manifestations that took over the disciples. Imagine being in an ordinary meeting and suddenly seeing something extraordinary happen, something that neither science nor reason can explain. What would you do if you were touched by a force so intense that it changed your purpose and brought you a direct connection with the supernatural? Here, we explore not only what happened that day, but how these lessons can apply to your life now, bringing more purpose, courage, and renewed meaning to your faith. Prepare to discover the little-spoken details of Pentecost, the truths many ignore, and the key to accessing the power that transformed lives. If you are looking to understand the true impact of this day and how it can renew your spirituality, you are in the right place. This is not just another video. It is a journey that can change your perception of what it means to live according to the Holy Spirit. On the day of Pentecost, an extraordinary event was about to happen, and the disciples were united in prayer, waiting expectantly. That morning promised more than usual. It was as if the air was charged with a subtle energy, almost like an anticipation of the supernatural. This faith meeting had something special. The promise of the Holy Spirit was near, and everyone knew that something transformative was coming. Here, it wasn't just any prayer, but an intense connection that each person could feel. It was time to open up to the inexplicable and prepare the heart, with the Holy Spirit descending upon them. The disciples felt a surge of fervor that could not be ignored. This feeling was not just internal, but seemed to radiate around, a power so strong it could move mountains. Imagine feeling this transformative power, which gave them previously unknown courage and strength. It wasn't just mental or physical strength. It was spiritual, something that fulfilled them completely. A practical example of this fervor would be when, in life, we find a purpose so strong that nothing can stop us. Pentecost was that moment for them. The presence of the Holy Spirit not only filled hearts, but also brought a sense of belonging. They were no longer the same. They became capable of proclaiming the gospel with an unprecedented passion. This event proved how powerful it is when we unite for a common cause, with faith and total dedication. For anyone who has ever felt small when faced with life's challenges, this day was proof that there are superior forces that can strengthen us. As a united team in pursuit of a great goal, the disciples were ready to face the world. And so, in an instant, the disciples were transformed. The Holy Spirit brought new vision, enabling them to see beyond the visible and feel the power of their mission. This type of transformation reminds us that when we are touched by the spirit of something greater, our outlook on life can completely change. Just like an inspiring book that makes us rethink our paths, this moment was a watershed moment for them. What began as a simple prayer ended as a universal call. With this new flame lit in their hearts, each disciple understood the value of sacrifice and dedication. Now, they were ready to face the unknown and spread a message that would change the course of history. This spirit of total surrender is something that, nowadays, we can all learn and apply. Whether it's a project, a personal mission, or a greater purpose, what matters is delivery. And this is just the beginning. After all, when the supernatural touches the natural, history has just begun to be written. At that special moment, supernatural manifestations began to appear, and the disciples were surprised by something out of the ordinary. Tongues of fire rested on each of them. This phenomenon was not just symbolic. It was a visible representation of the Holy Spirit among them. To anyone observing, it might seem scary, but to the disciples, it was a symbol of the divine presence. Imagine being in a room with an energy so powerful that the very air seems to carry a sacred touch. Thus, each one received a special and unique gift. These tongues of fire brought more than heat or light. They gave them the ability to speak in other languages, something they had never seen before. This special gift allowed each disciple to convey the message in a way that everyone around them could understand. It's like when someone manages to communicate an idea so clearly that everyone understands it, regardless of the language they speak. This event reminds us that when a message is truly powerful, it transcends linguistic and cultural barriers. Here, the Holy Spirit revealed His power in a visible and practical way. Every word they uttered, every sentence, was loaded with a profound truth, which directly touched the hearts of those who listened. This ability to speak in other languages was more than a gift, it was a mission. Anyone who has ever had to communicate something important knows the value of being understood. That day, the barriers fell, and each culture could understand the message in its own language. This wasn't just a skill, it was the Holy Spirit giving the chance for true connection with all people. This unique moment was not an isolated event. It marked a new era where the language of divine love surpassed any borders. This supernatural experience brought a union that went beyond what is human. For those who seek to understand and be understood today, this passage serves as inspiration to never give up on transmitting what really matters. Like an author who writes something capable of touching different lives, the disciples, at that moment, were ready to impact the world with their words. And so, the day of Pentecost became more and more powerful, full of visible manifestations of the power of the Holy Spirit. The tongues of fire were proof that something new and great was happening. This was just the beginning of a new journey, and what came next would bring even more lessons. The disciples' journey shows us that when something is truly divine, it leaves lasting marks. And the next step in this story promises to reveal even more of what was to come. That event on the day of Pentecost marked the beginning of the Christian mission, where the disciples became true preachers of a new spiritual era. The courage they previously lacked was now there, guiding their every step, as if an invisible force was propelling them. They were no longer just learning, but applying all the knowledge acquired alongside Jesus. This transformation makes us think about the importance of living our mission with conviction and purpose, as these are the moments that really shape our trajectory. There, at that moment, the Christian church came to life with the power of the Holy Spirit. The disciples went from being ordinary figures to the spiritual leaders we all recognize today. This transformative call is what makes anyone overcome previously insurmountable limits. Imagine receiving a mission so clear that even the challenges seem smaller in front of it. In life, we all need motivation like this to move forward, something that leads us to look beyond ourselves. The Christian church was born not just as an institution, but as a spiritual movement rooted in courage and faith. The founding of the church also came as a milestone of unity, where every culture and nationality could feel included in the message. The day of Pentecost brought with it a universal calling, a promise that no one would be left behind. This inclusive vision was new for the time and symbolized an openness that many still desire today. As in a great project that seeks the good of all, the church emerged with the purpose of uniting, inspiring, and transforming. This purpose of universality still resonates with those looking for a place where they can feel part of something bigger. Pentecost became the pillar for a new time, where the spirit of each disciple was connected to something higher. Thus, they not only had a purpose, but a commitment to something beyond themselves. This type of surrender teaches us that, by having a greater reason, our actions gain a deeper meaning and take us further. As in a work done with love and dedication, they were ready to sacrifice themselves for the good of their mission. That day, with the emergence of the church, they understood the true value of commitment. The journey of the Christian church was just beginning, and each disciple now had a responsibility that surpassed all expectations. This beginning marked the emergence of a new era, where each action would be guided by the Holy Spirit, pushing them to go further and further. And it was at that point that the power of the Holy Spirit became a constant ally, moving them to the next challenge, the next destination, the next mission. There was still much to learn and share, and the strength of this new era was beginning to expand in all directions. The power of the Holy Spirit that day was so intense that it was felt like a strong wind, bringing an energy that seemed to envelop each disciple. This experience went far beyond what words could describe, as it was a living force that transformed from the inside out. The Bible shows us several moments of divine power, but here at Pentecost, it manifested itself in a unique intensity. Think of it as an impulse that arises within us, something that drives us to act with more determination. This was the effect of the Holy Spirit, an unshakable power. This strong wind was, in fact, the Holy Spirit, acting to prepare the disciples for the great mission that awaited them. Just as the wind can change the direction of a leaf or the route of a ship, the Holy Spirit guided each of them, opening new paths. This experience reminds us how much we need a greater force to give us direction when life seems uncertain. For the disciples, this power was like a clear north, which gave them confidence to move forward, even in the most challenging moments. Another symbol present at that moment were the tongues of fire, which not only brought light, but also a renewed passion for witnessing. This flame did not burn on the outside, but it set fire to the spirit, making them bold and fearless messengers. This fire reminds us that, in many moments, we need authentic passion to move us towards our goals. Just as the disciples' faith was strengthened by this fire, our commitment is also solidified when we seek to act with purpose. This union of wind and fire symbolized a direct connection with divine power, showing that the Holy Spirit was not just a comfort, but a transforming force. The disciples were renewed, and as such, they began to be guided by an energy that kept them firm despite adversity. In life, we all face moments of difficulty, and it is precisely in these moments that spiritual strength can make a difference. The Holy Spirit, for them, was a reminder that they were never alone. And so, the Holy Spirit continued to guide each disciple, taking them to destinations they had not yet known. This power was like a promise that the path ahead was prepared no matter what obstacles appeared. Pentecost marked just the beginning of this new journey, and at each step, the Holy Spirit reaffirmed its role in each person's life. Now the impact of this power expanded beyond Jerusalem, and the next destination would reveal the depth of this mission. The impact of the day of Pentecost was not limited to just the disciples, but resonated throughout Jerusalem and beyond. That supernatural energy and manifestation caught the attention of people from all over, who were in the city for the festivities. Each of those present was able to hear the wonders of God in their own language, something totally unexpected and impressive. It was as if the language barrier had disappeared, and the power of the Holy Spirit had become the universal language, capable of reaching every heart. This powerful experience was a testimony to divine inclusion, showing that God's message was not restricted to a single people or culture. Each person present felt part of something bigger, a purpose that transcended cultural and linguistic differences. Imagine being in a crowd and suddenly hearing a directly understandable message, even if it comes from someone from another culture. This miracle was a clear call to all, a demonstration that divine truth was accessible to all who would listen. With the power of the Holy Spirit, the disciples realized that their mission would extend beyond Jerusalem, taking the message to all nations. This expansion of the Christian church began there, in a moment of total connection and unity, which inspired a global vision. It's like when someone decides that a good idea should be shared and taken far and wide. From that day on, they were ready to spread this message, no matter the distances or challenges. This event was, for many, a call to self-knowledge and the search for a deeper and truer faith. Every culture that has heard about the wonders of God has had the chance to embrace this new perspective on life, based on love and spiritual connection. Today, as we reflect on this impact, we realize that the power of a true message is capable of crossing centuries and cultures, remaining relevant. Pentecost became a reference for the power of universal spiritual transformation. And so, the divine message began to spread across different lands, like a river finding its way to the sea. Jerusalem was just the starting point, and the Holy Spirit continued to guide each disciple on their journey of faith. Now, with their mission established and the power of the Holy Spirit on their side, they were ready to take on the world. But this was just the beginning of an era where faith and supernatural power went hand in hand. setting the stage for what came next. After all this, the real question is, how will you apply these teachings in your life? Pentecost was not just an event in the past, but a living reminder of the power and spiritual renewal we can all experience. Are you willing to open yourself up to this transformation? Each of us has a chance to seek this connection, to see beyond the obvious and live with more purpose and courage. If this message has touched something inside you, perhaps it is time to rethink your journey and ask yourself, what can the Holy Spirit do in my life now? The search for a living and true spirituality is a journey for few. And you, will you be part of this group? If you want to continue learning about these truths and feel even closer to this mission, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and come along on this journey of faith and discovery. After all, what else does Pentecost still have to teach us? Let's find out together.